Namo Narayan, courageous yogis. In this video, I want to discuss with you the 3 different levels of Yoga Nidra and the therapeutic relief that we experience on each level. So we can know what to aim for when we're experiencing different forms of suffering. Can that suffering be alleviated through Yoga Nidra? And if so, how to get there? And a practical approach. So, first of all, yes. Yoga Nidra can provide relief from any and all forms of suffering, because ultimately we go to that level of pure bliss. We are awake in the sleepless sleep state of no mind. We have put the body and mind to sleep, and the awareness is free to just experience that pure inner bliss of featureless consciousness. And on that level, you experience relief from not only whatever kind of physical or emotional or psychological suffering you have, but you experience that relief from the existential suffering of the ego on that level of no mind, where there's just total unity, awareness. So first of all, we need to understand the 3 levels of Yoga Nidra, the 3 depths of Yoga Nidra. And we start off in the beginning going into basic relaxation, physical relaxation, and learning to put the body to sleep. And then we go into conscious dreaming stage is the next stage. This is where the body is asleep and now the mind is active. And we're experiencing all of the repressed samskaras on the astral level, the subtle dimension of the feelings, emotions, the mind, and any samskaras, any repressed memories that we might have start to come up during the conscious dreaming phase. And after that has finally been purified and we've relaxed and released the tension on that subtle level, then gradually we go to that 3rd dimension of sleepless sleep, where we experience that total bliss. The same bliss you experience during deepest sleep at night, only here you are awake for it. So there are these 3 states or stages of Yoga Nidra, 3 levels of Yoga Nidra. Nidra, or sleep, conscious dreaming, and sleepless sleep. Now these also correlate to the 3 states of mind: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. This correlates to the 3 bodies of your physical body: the stula sharir, the subtle body, the sukshma sharir, and the causal body, the karan sharir. And this also correlates to the 3 gunas as well of tamas, rajas, and sattva. So the first level of Yoga Nidra, which is just Nidra, sleep, here you are learning to put your body to sleep. Here you are learning to really relax your body fully and completely. And we go from consciousness to subconsciousness. We call this level sleep because, first of all, we are learning to put the body to sleep while we stay awake. And second of all, because usually that's the state that a lot of people go into when they first start doing Yoga Nidra, is they just fall asleep. And that's what is needed, and that's what's right for them, because we've been storing this pent-up nervous tension just beneath the surface of our consciousness. We've been holding on to this nervous tension in our neuromuscular system, in the muscles of our body, for so long, for months and years. And only now when we come to Yoga Nidra have we discovered a method for developing really deep relaxation for the first time. And we start to relax much deeper, even deeper than when we go to sleep at night. And so because there's that release in this deep, newly found relaxation, we're releasing that nervous tension. That stored up, pent up nervous tension now comes to the surface of our mind. And people will oftentimes, they will say that they actually feel more nervous tension or anxiety just minutes into Yoga Nidra. And also a lot of people, they just go to sleep. And this is because we're just working on relaxing the physical dimension. And this brings therapeutic relief on the physical dimension of our being, the first level of Yoga Nidra, sleep. And if people fall asleep during Yoga Nidra, in the beginning, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. Sleep has 2 roles, 2 functions really. Sleep, we need sleep every night to revitalize ourselves, to refreshen ourselves, to refill our personal store of Mahaprana, of cosmic energy. And we also sleep is used as a defense mechanism for when we go into states of too high of energy or too high of consciousness before we're ready. And the mind responds by just putting the mind to sleep. And this is what's happening for a lot of people in the very beginning when they start doing Yoga Nidra. You're just learning to relax really deeply for the first time. A lot of the stored up nervous energy is coming to the surface to be released. And so sleep is a way for you to be able to allow that deeper rest to occur without that release of nervous energy overwhelming you. So sleeping is okay. In the beginning, you're going to get much deeper rest. You're going to be able to liberate that, free up that pent-up nervous energy. And now that prana is free and can be used for fueling higher awareness. So now when you go into Yoga Nidra, you will find that you are much more aware. You have higher energy, so you can stay more aware. You can stay awake, and you can go deeper into the different levels of the mind. So that's the first level of Yoga Nidra, sleep. And we need to have this for really deep revitalization, restoration, regeneration, for releasing that pent-up nervous energy that's on the surface, which is creating a lot of the chronic tension that we have, a lot of the nervousness, the agitated inner state of mind, the restless inner state of mind we have. It will be relieved and released here at this level. And then when you freed up that nervous energy, because it takes an immense amount of prana to keep nervous energy stored and trapped in your muscles, to repress. It takes a lot of energy to repress things. So when you have now let that out, now that energy is free, that prana is free again, and it goes towards nurturing higher awareness. Now you can go deeper into Yoga Nidra. And so then you enter into the second level of Yoga Nidra, conscious dreaming Yoga Nidra. And in conscious dreaming, here we are going into the second, the subtle body, the sukshma sharir. This is correlating to Rajas Guna. And we are entering into the subconscious mind here and coming upon all of the different components and all the different things that are there stored in the subconscious mind. And that's why it's called conscious dreaming, because you go now into that dreaming state, but you're awake for it. And so we have all sorts of visions, all sorts of feelings and thoughts and desires and memories. All these things start to come up here during this stage. And it's by dissociating from it. It's by remaining still and silent and allowing these images to come up so that they can express themselves. And as you allow that energy to manifest and express itself with detachment, so then you're not trying to cross-analyze or over-analyze or try to judge any of your thoughts or anything that's manifesting from within. It's just to get it out. It's a psychological purging process that you're undergoing here. That's what conscious dreaming facilitates. When you can remain a detached, third-party witness to everything that's coming up within your consciousness, within the mind, all the emotions, even different physiological sensations that come about during this stage as well. When you can just remain a detached observer, a witness, like you're just watching a performance with detachment, then these things, they can come out from within you. They can release themselves from within you, and you can get it out. It begins the psychological purging process. That's what the conscious dreaming stage is about. And this is where we are relieving and bringing relief to the psychological sources of our suffering. The deep-seated, constant tension that has been stored deep within us. Then, because we haven't been able to release it, it's not congruent with us, it's buried deep within the surface, it's taking root and manifesting in our lives in different types of ways, especially psychosomatic illnesses, Things like anxiety, things like chronic tension, things like anxiety, insomnia. These things are all being relieved here because we are addressing their source in the subconscious mind. And it's not important to understand it. In fact, try not to understand it. Just remain a witness, like you're watching a movie. Like you're just watching something. As soon as it's done, you get up, you leave. It doesn't touch you. When you can let everything within you to come up like this, so you can face it with courage. And this stage takes courage. You have to be willing and ready and able to face whatever comes up within you, and to not try to repress it, to not say, oh no, I can't have these kinds of thoughts. These thoughts can't be me. No, they're not you. You have a mind, but you are not your mind. You have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. Because all of these feelings and emotions and thoughts and memories during conscious dreaming stage of Yoga Nidra, because all of these are subject to change, that means then they cannot be you. They're impermanent. They're subject to change. Therefore, they are not self. And when we can disidentify from our mind, disassociate from that. And by disassociation, I don't mean a total indifference. I mean that you're still facing it. You're still 100% aware and present with what you're experiencing, but you are aware that it's not you. And then you can let thoughts come up, let emotions come up, let memories come up. Instead of thinking these are my thoughts, my emotions, my memories, just think these are thoughts, these are memories, these are emotions. It doesn't say anything personal about you. We just have to let this energy free itself because it's been repressed for so long. And in this state of conscious dreaming is usually where we spend the most amount of time. This is where the most purification and psychological healing is happening here. And this is where we're having different abstract associations with the objects that are being named during, for example, the visualization sequence, or if there's a story during Yoga Nidra, or any kind of symbolism. When we're having an abstract association with that, meaning if somebody says to visualize a beach, then some people, they just visualize a beach. That's all. That's a direct association. But then there'll be other people who they remember some past memory. Maybe something happened to them at a beach once. Maybe they almost drowned and a lifeguard had to go in and rescue them. Maybe they got stung by a stingray. And now instead of just seeing a beach, they remember that traumatic experience. This is abstract association. And this abstract association, this is the reason that we do the visualization sequence. It's to help you to initiate this process. It's to prod and poke and try to provoke a response from the subconscious mind so we can clear all that junk out. That's why we're not just talking about fairy tales and butterflies and unicorns during this time. There's sometimes that we mention some very disturbing things like a corpse or a funeral pyre, things like this. Is to provoke an abstract association with the contents of the subconscious so that you can bring illumination and awareness to that, so that it can express itself and release the trapped energy that is invested in keeping it suppressed within you. So you can get that stuff out and be free from it. After this process has gone on long enough, for a while, then our mind starts to become more sattvic. Our mind starts to become more equanimous. We experience more even-mindedness. Gradually, as we purify the subconscious, then we go into the unconscious, the third level of Yoga Nidra. Now we're in that third state, the unconscious, but you're awake. This is why we call it sleepless sleep, or conscious unconsciousness. Because here, you have transcended the mind. You are now experiencing inner silence and stillness. You're awake, but the body and mind are asleep. And in that state of featureless consciousness, in that state of no mind, you experience that pure bliss of your own true nature. We experience that same bliss every night when we're in deep sleep. But when we're awake for it, it provides such tremendous deep restoration and revitalization. When we're awake for that experience of no mind, then you become free from the ego. Otherwise, we're always under the influence of the ego when we are awake and in the subconscious. But when you're in the unconscious mind, the ego is dormant, is suspended, is absent. And you get the chance to experience your true nature, that which is beyond the mind. And now, knowing you are not your ego, the ego doesn't dominate you anymore. And you go from understanding that you are not the ego and understanding that you are the self or Atma to realizing that. To realizing it through direct experience, direct personal experience. That's the difference between understanding and realization. We understand so much, but how real is it for you? Does it really express and define and typify your daily waking experience in life? Or is it just an intellectual understanding? In order for that real transformation in our life to occur, there has to be that personal experience. And we have to experience that which is beyond the ego mind. And this happens during Yoga Nidra, when we go into the third state of Yoga Nidra, of sleepless sleep. And on that level, we experience total relief from all sources of suffering, not only the physical, emotional, mental, and psychological, but we experience relief from that existential suffering of perceiving ourselves as being separate and different from the world. That sense of separation, that pain of the ego state of seeing ourselves as being different and separate from the world, that too is relieved. And you experience perfect bliss of your own true nature. And just a breath in that state brings such tremendous healing, brings such tremendous restoration and relief. Even just a breath in that. So although these three states or stages, we can see them as stages, it takes time to go through the process of going into each one, of relieving physical tension and then emotional energy and psychological tension before we finally start to experience that inner stillness and silence. This is also all happening even within the course of one session for everybody. Everybody will have at least a glimpse of that. Everybody will have at least a sliver of that experience on each level. And as you go about practicing Yoga Nidra, you start to experience more and more of that relaxation, that deep relief. So these are the three states and stages of Yoga Nidra: sleep, conscious dreaming, and sleepless sleep. And we can see on which level is it bringing healing: the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. And we can apply this to our own lives in order to transition from understanding to realization. That is all for now. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And it's time for me to go get in that fresh, beautiful water. Hari Om Tat Sat.